Tonight, the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series goes short track racing. We're at iRacing's virtual Richmond Raceway as we get ready to battle at the action track here on Green Flag TV. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Derrick Watson. Our producer tonight is Dustin Ollis. We're almost set to go racing when it comes to the action track, Derrick. It should be fun. It's short track racing in the ARCA cars.
Yeah, brand new cars to the service this season, but a track almost everyone is familiar with here. Richmond Raceway, Richmond International Raceway. It's had so many names throughout the years. It's had so many exciting moments throughout the years. It's a pretty awesome place to race. Look at the schedule. Last week we were off. 2 weeks ago, the Green Flag TV debut at Talladega. Of course, we go to Iowa next week and see the schedule from there, JP. It's going to be a busy, busy year here for Blazing Pedals.
Yes, indeed. The schedule, mind you, going all the way to race 32 in late November with a good mix of racetracks from Sonoma in the later stages coming up in the month of July, for example. You also have other tracks down the road to keep an eye on, like Mategi. It's actually in the postseason. This schedule is pretty loaded. The short track swing, though, beginning today with Iowa back-to-back, two similarly shaped racetracks lined up dead even in the schedule, Derrick.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good comparison to make, is these two tracks. You see the stage is not that far apart. The total laps, only 20 laps different. So you're right. It's very likely we see sort of a mirror of who's good today might be good in 1 week's time at Iowa. That's a great analysis.
So let's take a look at how the point standings are coming into tonight. Justin Levine is the top driver over Dalton Kilroe. Taylor Butcher Benjamin also in the conversation in the point standings within 103 points. Then you have Mark Arthur in the next tier with Brian Dees, Austin Edstrom in that same grouping so far. Levine, you know that name across the league scene, to say the very least. When it comes to his performances, there's a reason he's up at the top, once again leading another league's championship.
Yeah, of course, part of One Sim, well known across the iRacing community for, being part of Road to Pro with that team and running across the league. So no surprise to see that nice, 34-point lead, but a single race or two could really just mean the difference in how this point system shapes out. So now let's look at the top 10. Let's go to the team points, though. A very unique team point system, JP. So what they do is they take your best and worst finisher on your team, they average those together, and the team with the best average gets a point for the week. So you see Two Dudes Racing, One Sim, and Blackhawk have all done it twice. MF Racing Designs has done it once, and then the other teams here still waiting to get their first team point. It's a very unique system, JP, different than ones we typically see.
Very different in terms of how they do it, in terms of the average, and as well how they score the points indeed. But qualifying is underway on the track. 2 laps, 10 minutes for drivers to be able to set their qualifying times. In fact, to be able to get good track position, 17 entries are on the entry list at the moment. An 18th driver is yet to make the racetrack, and Justin Levine, in fact. James Evall, you're looking at on circuit. One of the drivers that was at the bottom of the practice session, looking to improve a lot more. Not a good quarter exit to start off lap 1's exit to a 22.5 on the board.
Yeah, this looks very almost uncomfortable out of the corners, doesn't he? As you see a new fastest lap for the moment being put up by James Efall, because he is one of the first out here. But just something about this looks kind of, I want to say clunky, and then that's, maybe a little loose, a little slidey, but he's not tracking up out of that corner. And that may be the most important reason why it doesn't look comfortable. He's not up against the wall out of those corners. Let's watch Nicholas Moody here in the 60 machine. So he gets back on the pedal. Watch how much closer he gets to the wall out of the corner. That's what I was expecting to see Efall do.
I'm just trying to make sure he gets that good arc, gets that little apex right. A little bit snapped loose though off 2. That's one of the main things that can happen a fair bit. Corner exit, turn 2 can be so costly for drivers if you aren't too careful on throttle on the exit. That time really cost Moody as a result. Here's Brad Lawson now on the board. Team 5 Motorsports machine was 5th quickest in final practice.
Yeah, let's watch Brad here up against the wall. It's going to come down here into 1 and 2. He's going to try to get it down here just inside those white lines, almost down to the yellow, and then back all the way out And again, look at that looseness. That's going to be a problem all night long here for this track, I believe. You have to be gentle with the gas pedal off the corners at Richmond. If you slam on the gas pedal, that back end's going to come around. And the good news for these guys right now, JP, they're alone on the track. But if you have someone behind you and you do that in the race, it could bring out a caution.
He did not get any improvement on the second time, by the way. Joey Neese is now on track. 58, trying to use the top to build up speed for the second time around. Didn't get the exit he needed to build up the speed, however. That's going to hurt him.
Yeah, the good news about Richmond, though, compared to other tracks we've done, like Talladega 2 weeks ago, either lap can be the good lap for you, right? You can mess up the first lap here and still have a very valid opportunity at a second lap that will score you well. So Joey Neese is going to now try and get this white and red machine to do well on the second lap. Let's see where he finishes. A 22.227 puts him P7 on the board.
Sixth machine now on the circuit. That's Derrick Paulson. He was amongst the drivers in the top half in final practice earlier on tonight. We'll see where he starts things off. It looks like if you go for the first lap, those tires aren't getting speed for the second time around. A 22 flat. The speeds are actually down a bit from final practice by a few tenths of a second. The track temp is at 100 degrees at the moment.
Yeah, it's currently 12:47 virtual sim time, JP. So obviously, as the afternoon grows on the track, it'll probably get a little warmer on track, and therefore the speeds will slow down and the track will get a little slicker, unfortunately, for these drivers. Paulson, one of the drivers not been around for a couple weeks, wants to kind of make a statement in his return to Blazing Pedals tonight. So you'll see him hopefully do that. Here's Ty Marasco in the 1. Ty, of course, a regular here on Green Flag TV. JP races tonight in the Blazing Pedals. Tomorrow night, High Tide Racing League here live on Green Flag TV. He'll be part of both. Both are running the ARCA cars. And there's a real contingency here. Himself, Dalton, Kilrow, and a couple others who love these ARCA cars so much, they appear in multiple ARCA broadcasts on back-to-back nights.
Yeah, there's a reason that this car is actually gaining a lot of popularity on the service in just a short history on iRacing. People really love the feel of these cars and the way the car handles the lines and the challenge it puts, like that one. Marasco having a huge challenge in the corner. He tried to run the top to build up momentum for the second lap. Is he going to be able to get much of an improvement? No, it's a 22-1, puts him 13th quickest on track right now. Kevin Coburn, that puts him in the wall. That's not going to help the car whatsoever in the 99. That's 99 on track, 9 in sim. He'll have to push hard on the second lap, if anything.
Yeah, and he'll also have to probably do better on the second lap because likely he invalidated the first lap, JP. Oh my goodness, with that big slide. He likely invalidated the first lap with the wall hit, and now the big slide on the second here is not going to go well here for the driver of the 90. And my goodness, he is loose in both corners. And I'll tell you, JP, this to me for drivers, as you do in your qualifying runs and that track is that slick, you have to heed the warning. The track is telling you something. It's telling you how you need to behave during the race here today. Here's Tanner Marr now in the 4, and that's a good exit.
Yeah, the 5 Kings Motorsports machine on the second lap put himself in the 22-2s to start. Missed the bottom just about completely, though, in 3 and 4. 22 flat puts him in 11th position. And that basically finishes up. Everybody is on track except for Brian Zimmerman, who's practicing at the moment. That leaves Timothy Badcock, Mike Mason-Gill, Thomas Freitas, and you also have Justin Levine yet to set times. Of note, with Levine, he is yet to come into the race server. So this is going to be a challenge now for him to be able to jump into the session. It's been interesting what we've seen so far here tonight for qualifying. But the race, remember, is going to have those stages. Those stages, to remind you one more time, coming into tonight for Richmond, are going to be laps 48 and 96. Your temperatures, once again on screen, currently 79 air temp, 100 is the track temp. Cloudy skies, but it is 2 times sun movement here on April 27th in sim. So we get all set to go. The Speed Mafia machine, Mark Arthur, is at the top of the board and looks to be like he's going to be able to stay up here. Why don't we bring him up to the broadcast booth if we can after that qualifying run quickly. Mark Arthur now jumps to the broadcast booth here. Mark, you put up the pole time. How are you feeling about Richmond tonight?
I don't know. Carroll will be hard to beat, so we'll see. I hate Richmond. I don't really like this track, but it seems to like me, so we'll see what happens.
Well, one driver on the track now in the backdrop. That's Timothy Babcock, who just now hit the circuit. But what's the approach like when it comes to driving the track here at Richmond, when it comes to the short track attack, but also just how you attack the track with this car?
I mean, I can tell you how I attack it. I kind of enter turn one a little high and kind of cut it down, kind of like you used to do Dover, and cut it down to that yellow line because I want to stay away from that turn two wall. That's a killer if you push out into that wall. And I think people that stay down on the bottom tend to push out. And I don't know, if you can get a little high to low entry there, you can kind of make a pass or start the pass coming out of two. But, 3 and 4, we just run regular right down on the yellow line. I do anyway.
So, Mark, I'm just curious here. We just saw Timothy Babcock put down a lap, and it's not going to knock you off the pole. But I'm just curious with this long qualifying run we have here, do you think there's any advantage to maybe have waiting and coming out now? I mean, obviously the temp's about the same, maybe a little bit more shade on the track. Do you think the drivers who are going to come out now and put down a last-second lap have any advantage over what you and Carroll and Zimmerman did?
I do, and that's kind of why we do the 10-minute session. One, that we can go to the bathroom and stuff after our practice session if you stayed in the whole thing. And number two is with the clouds and 2x weather, it kind of puts a little strategy there, right? So you could sit in the pits a little longer and hope for a cloud. And I mean, the temperatures dropped 4 degrees since we went to qualifying. So it was 104, now it's 100. So yeah, I mean, that can definitely help.
Thank you very much for your time, Mark. I'll let you get back to your team here as qualifying just about complete.
Thanks, guys.
Once again, a good run for Mark Arthur, top of the board in the session. Let's take the opportunity to look at how they'll start here as they will take over in the next moment. Mark Arthur on the pole tonight. Chris Carroll will start in the second spot. Then it's Brian Zimmerman in row 2 for 5 Kings. It's Derrick Paulson who will start on the outside. Jason Powell for Team 5 will start in the top 5 with Larry Bell in 6th spot. 7th goes to Cody Gibson. John Perkins will start in the Loves Machine in 8th. Rounding out the top 10, Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Austin Derbyshire. Your top 10 here, Derrick.
We're going to move back into P11, 5 Kings Motorsports, Tanner Marr in that 4 machine with Trevor Harmon on the outside. And then we'll go to Matthew Kleinschmidt. He's in that 59 car with Philip Van Vliet in the 89, back in P14 in row 7. Row 8, Dalton Kilrow, part of Team MFRD in that 41 car with Ty Marasco, a teammate on the outside in P16. Brad Lawson and Joey Neese, 17th and 18th in row 9. And then row 10, Timothy Babcock. You saw him make that last-second run, JP. He'll be lined up next to Daniel Rupak in P20.
James Evall back in 21st. Nicholas Moody all the way in 22nd. The last driver to set a qualifying time was Kevin Colburn. The rest of the drivers did not take part in qualifying. Thomas Freitas, Mike Mason-Gill, and Justin Levine is not in session. So that is huge. Your championship points leader does not seem to be here for tonight's Blazing Pedals ARCA Series race, Derrick.
Yep, and of course a long season, so many ways that can be made up. And that the reason why we have long seasons and they have different scoring formats is to sort of assist with drivers who maybe need a week off for vacation or family or what have you. But we'll see here across this big shot from a top here from the blimp. You see the grids getting ready. And almost everyone's recruited up here, JP. 2 pace laps at this track, so drivers have a moment to get comfortable in their seats, get comfortable in those setups, and be ready to go.
Once again, these drivers tonight will have 4 tire sets in the pits, just 4 here at Richmond. So you have to be very careful on what you do with those tires. 75% fuel, about 75 laps is the talking point on the fuel run if need be for these drivers tonight. What are some of your keys to victory in this overall 240 lap race?
Well, I think we saw the first key to victory during qualifying, right? Which is hold on to the race car. We saw a lot of cars getting loose and wild loose out of the corner, especially in 2. It can happen in 4s also. So the first one's keep a hold of the car. If you wreck the car, it likely isn't going to finish well, right? The second one's be maximizing your fuel runs. 70, 75 laps. That's very different as far as the number of laps you can run here. And I think also being patient. This is a short track. We don't talk about it as much as we do maybe a Bristol, a Martinsville, a New Hampshire. But it's easy to lose your patience here. It's easy to bump in the back of someone, get bumped into, get moved, and get a little hot-headed. And there's not enough time at this track to cool down sometimes. You're always doing something at this track. So I think those are my 3 keys to victory.
So overall, who do you think is going to come away with the win here tonight at Richmond?
Well, our pole sitter Mark Arthur mentioned Chris Carroll as a good possibility. I like that name. Derrick Paulson said his first week back, and here he is right there up in P4 on the outside in that red, white, and blue machine. There's a positive name. The one name I want to keep an eye out on, by the way, let's see where he is. He's back in P18. It's Joey Neese. He's typically a dirt oval driver in the iRacing Service shape. He has done over a lot more starts on that side than he has ovals. Told me this is his first race ever at Richmond.
It's going to be very interesting for him then, but we're glad to have you with us here on Green Flag TV. Tonight's coverage, it's Mark Arthur on the pole here at Richmond. Chris Carroll will start on the outside. Green, green, green. And Carroll gets the better launch. Mark Arthur kept sleeping. To 3 and 4 they go. Arthur on the bottom, Carroll up top side. That obviously was not the start your pole sitter wanted to see to already lose the lead.
Well, a couple stories evolved in that first lap, JP. You had to move up front right here, and Carroll got to the front, did a very good job. In the back of the shot, you saw them already 2 and 3 wide, so you see people wanting to make moves pretty quickly. We saw Ty Marasco up on the wall, so lots going on in the first lap. But here we go, completing another lap here. Remember, these are 22-second laps, about 3 laps a minute here at Richmond under green.
Well, we have trouble front straightaway. Ipa having some problems. We've seen him have some struggles in qualifying. It carries over to the race now. We stay green. Right now, most of the field has single filed out. First side by side at the moment. Just single filed also for the most part, except for 2. Austin Derbyshire, Matthew Kleinsmith is the first side-by-side rolling on the racetrack. You also have Larry Bell. Here's a look at the reason for the spin. Sends the 88 into the wall.
And you know what? Unfortunately, that's probably not the last time we're going to see that from a driver tonight. That's just getting a little too happy on the gas pedal out of the corners. That back end will want to come around, and that's what will happen to you. In the wall, though, that's pretty hurtful. Now, the good news, in a way, it is a short track, right? So maybe you don't need every ounce of aero like you would at a Daytona or a Talladega or a new Atlanta, but that'll still hurt that car to have that damage, and he'll quickly probably go a lap down here if something doesn't happen.
Still, as everyone gets into a rhythm here, one of the main things, noticing some different approaches to the lines in through the corners. Some trying to go flat around the bottom. Mark Arthur setting up for the pass using that same line he tried in qualifying. Good save by the 12. That was massively loose on his part.
That was massively loose, and that was a lot of pinching, I thought, by the way. Those white lines on the track, they're not necessarily lane markers. You don't have to follow them. But we saw 2 cars sharing one set of white lane markers on the bottom of that track, that being, whoa, my goodness, the orange car loose in the back, sorry. That being Carroll and Arthur. But they worked it out and got it saved here, and now we're looking a little bit deeper in the field and seeing what's going on. That's the 59 machine right there we're looking at. That is Matthew Kleinschmidt, I do believe, in that red, white, and blue patriotic scheme. Looking nice and trying his best to get around what I believe to be Dalton Kilrow right above him. That's Tanner Marr, pardon me.
Yes. Tanner Marr able to clear on by, in fact, as these cars seem to be very so tight it's loose almost like here tonight. These drivers are very snappy on both corner exits right now, Derrick.
Yeah, and that's going to be the thing all day long. As we said, it's nighttime for you and I, here, real life, quote unquote, but it's virtual sim time, only 1:15 in daytime, pardon me. So it's going to get hotter before it gets cooler. So this track is going to heat up. So your track temp now, I believe, to be 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Didn't you call it like 97 earlier?
100 earlier, yeah.
100, yeah. So that's already 10 degrees warmer. That's a lot for a race car. So this track will get slicker and slicker as this race goes on, probably.
Already have someone who towed the number 9 machine. Is that an issue? Kevin Colburn has put his car in the pit lane. Why did he tow? He just ends up going down the straightaway into the grass.
Might have a technology problem, might just have a personal thing, but yeah. The good news is not a wreck.
Yeah,
not a caution.
Yeah. That's our second driver in the infield grass so far here tonight, though. That's the downside. Stuck on board with Brad Lawson. Right now running in the 15th position. So far up a couple spots in the victory fuel entry for Team 5 Motorsports.
Yep, doing a great job. See, look at that. Got the wheels all the way out. Man, it's still a little loose, but he's doing a great job getting up the track, and that allowed that car to build more speed and more momentum. Now he's going to dig down in his corner. Get behind one of those grid vision cars there. Get down the straightaway here. The funny thing about this track, I think people forget, JP, they believe all of this track has a little or most or some a lot of banking. I mean, the front straight's banked, the corners are banked. In this track, you're always doing something. You get a small break on the back straight to kind of catch your breath, but it's only maybe a second or two of the 23 second laps you're turning, pardon me.
Up front, how are things going? Well, Chris Carroll continues to control things in the race lead. Carroll ahead of Mark Arthur, Brian Zimmerman, the top 3. And they're all starting to follow that go high in 1, diamond off the turn 2 line. That seems to be the preferred line, the normal way around, as they said, in 3 and 4. Just very rhythmistic when it comes to the short track. It's a lot of pattern-like driving when it comes to how you approach the circuit.
Yeah, this is a track where consistency really is important, and kind of getting a rhythm and just feeling comfortable in what you're doing, because that's what you need to have happen. By the way, I'm going to correct myself. I said no banking on the back straight. Not completely true. There's about 2 degrees of banking on the back straight, so not very much. But again, it's always sort of tilted a little bit here in any part of this racetrack. Here's a battle side by side, by the way, and they're going to come down here into turn number 1. That red and yellow car should have the advantage over the 43. It's now going to try to track up, and oh man, he got blocked up top, JP. Couldn't get out as far as he wanted and had to get off the gas pedal.
Right now, we're seeing some people slipping and sliding on screen. That's John Perkins on the inside, having to play defensive line as Dalton Kilrow tries to make up some ground. Kilrow, one of the drivers based out of Florida, is a mail clerk over at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. He's now joined this pack and has been around since 2018, all 9 seasons with experience. Here in Coburn, has re-entered the track. Whatever had the technical issues seems to be resurrected and has been fixed, rather, on the 9.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll be able to get out here and run it well. We'll keep an eye on that in the back of the screen. But again, back here, this is Kilrow on the bottom trying to make that run. And he told me he was concerned tonight, JP, about the right side tires, especially the right rear. That's what he's most concerned about. And I think that makes sense, seeing as how we're seeing these cars react out of the corners here. Every time that car's kind of wiggling loose out of the corner, you're likely doing the most damage to those tires. So he told me after a 50-lap run, was not really happy with the numbers he was getting off of his tires during practice. And my guess is with the track being hotter, he'll be less happy with those numbers.
Yeah, those numbers going to be a lot worse for wear, so to speak, now with the race like this tonight. As Kilrow now will make the move to the inside. That's on Kleinsmith. Matthew Kleinsmith, one of the Grid Vision cars, trying to battle it out, trying to hold on for dear life in the 1 sim machine. He lets on by the 41 with the move in the corner. Despite the best efforts, though, to keep to the fender, I think this is all for naught. Kleinsmith backs up the corner. There's the move complete.
Yeah, both those guys need to make that happen for different reasons, right? For Kilroy, he needed to kind of get in a little deeper and get that pass made. And I think for Kleinsmith, it was you needed to get off the gas and sort of let Kilroy go. That side-by-side battle was not helping you, and was only, in fact, probably letting the back of the field catch up to you a little bit more and more as time went on. So here's another battle. This is the 7 and the 10. This is Cody Gibson and TBB, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, on the track. And I love that Cheetos paint scheme. That is a bright, colorful paint scheme. That big green number, JP. For a broadcaster, that is a dream paint scheme right there, because you'll never not see it.
Yeah, that Great Lakes Sim machine definitely pops, but seeing Moresco slipping around Lawson. That moves him up now to 15th. I'm curious about the story and why his paint scheme shows disqualified with the DQ logo. I don't know if that's a pun attempt.
It's Dairy Queen.
I know what Dairy Queen is. I know what Dairy Queen is.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It does say disqualified. You're right. I think it is a good play on a me. Maybe we can talk to Tanner later and find, or Ty, pardon me, later and find out. But you're right. It does say disqualified. I've only ever looked at the logo before and just saw Dairy Queen. But, I bet he loves ice cream. But you're right. It does say disqualified.
Yeah. Well, either way, still Tanner Marr in 10th spot. So far, this race has been running in place, you can argue. And you can hear how he's starting to chitter chatter. He is really battling with this car.
Yeah, and I think what's probably going to happen here is we're working lap 27, and about the next, I'd say, 10 to 15 laps, I think the racetrack's going to start to tell the story. And what I mean by that, JP, is we're going to start to find out in the next 10 to 15 laps who's good at saving tires, who's comfortable. Maybe some of these cars that made those hard charges, you saw that number on the bottom screen on the right about a minute or two ago. Let's see if they stay up there, right? Or if maybe they got a little aggressive and burned up some tires and start to fall back. Well, there's a car kind of slow on the inside. Looks okay. That's TBB. That's the 10 car.
It still looks okay, though. Just being passed now on the outside by Jason Powell. Though, still the preferred line being ran by the 10 machine. TBB's ran for a fairly long time on iRacing when you think about it. He's ran in a lot of series. He's ran for some pretty sizable teams. He's been on the platform for what feels like 8 years almost, like, give or take, roughly.
Yeah, and so therefore he's one of those drivers who's seen the evolution of this ARCA car within iRacing, right? He saw it go from what we all knew to the kind of the turning into the Gen 4 cars we currently have until they're updated. Now it is brand new ARCA car, and the way it drives, the way it looks, the new dashboard, and so on and so forth. So definitely a veteran of the service. Now riding on board with Cody Gibson here in the 7 machine. They're kind of riding behind these two. And you see they're just side by side. A lot of space between them, a little bit of concern, just making sure they don't get into one another. Nice, respectful racing here on lap 31.
40-year-old from Colorado just waiting in the popcorn seat for this fight. See how it settles in. We're already closing in the final moments of the stage. Just a few more laps to go coming up here in stage 1 as time goes. Oh, a bit of a scrape to the wall. Gibson now moves to the inside. They go 3 wide with lap traffic.
Yeah, 3 wide indeed. And see right now, I think the intensity is picking up a little bit. As you said, the stage ends at the end of lap 48. So drivers now want to start to make some moves, get in position for those stage points, and be ready to go there, as there's a small wall scrub there. And I think he's going to be okay as the 18, but could have been worse.
Could have been a lot worse in this battle, just they play on the throttle. So those in the back of the group still 2 by 2 to get around lap traffic. Efaw. James Efaw, a retired U.S. Marine, is a rookie, mind you, this season. Back up to the battle we go. Jason Powell gets the squeeze. The Kentucky-based driver, the electrician, trying to go on the move.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who wins this battle right here. to see who can come out with this alive, or not alive, but who come out ahead here. I mean, they're a dead heat for about a whole lap here, JP. No one's budging in this moment. See, the 18, he's kind of trying to dig it in deep on the outside corner, but obviously the 7 has the inside lane. The 18 gets the run off the corner, and man, look how close they are at the line. I mean, and keep in mind, this is not racing for first. This is the race for 6th.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Powell drifts up the track. Able to hold on to it, though, and stick the grip. But the 7, yet again, with the dive. You can just almost throw these cars around.
Yeah, you can, especially, got to be careful outside the corner, though. But you can really move these cars around. A lot of fun. As you said, a lot of love for these ARCA cars currently on the service. So lots of cool things going on. All right, well, here we are again working lap 37. You see this battle happening across the service here. And right now, it's Chris Carroll with a beautiful lead here, about half a second over top of Mark Arthur. That's not changed since the start of the race, basically. Brian Zimmerman's in 3rd.
Oh,
Derrick
trouble.
Wilson's in 4th. Hold on, there's trouble. And that's Jason Powell.
Jason Powell,
the inside.
he just about wrecked the car. He snapped loose trying to ride the bottom to make sure he didn't hit his teammate in lap traffic. Watch. He starts drifting it all the way through turn 2. Gets the good save.
That's a great job getting that car pulled back together, by the way, because there's not a lot of space between the inside and outside wall at Richmond. So it's not uncommon to lose the car. Watch him on board here. Watch the hand. Oh, buddy. That's scary.
Bit of a scary moment at that point of the race. But we continue on as we're just about the traffic now for the stage coming up. Already these drivers have less than 10 to go in the stage. About less than 7-ish to go. As we continue on, remember the stage ends after lap 48. And these two continue to make their way through traffic like butter.
Now, what's going to be interesting here is if there's someone in traffic who's not going to be as nice to these two, right? Because with the stage ending here in just a few laps, if I'm a car towards the back of this field, the last thing I want to do is let you by as the leader. I don't want to get lapped. I don't want to have to rely on the lucky dog to put me back on the lead lap when this yellow comes out. So admittedly, if the stage ends in 4 or 5 laps, depending on when you catch me, I'm going to fight you pretty hard. Not going to wreck you. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to ruin your race, but I'm not just going to pull over, right? So I'm curious if they catch this next car in the next few laps and see what happens. If that happens, man, more wiggles out of these cars at Richmond coming down here in the corner.
Arthur all with a rear bumper. Less than 5 to go now in the stage. Coming up here as Arthur waits in the wings. Seems to be just trying different lines to see can he build a run back up like he did earlier. Carroll went more flat foot. Arthur going for the lead. Takes the poke. Makes the send.
See if he can make it stick, or if that inside lane's just a little too sketch here. You'll see Carroll gets the big run up against the wall. And yep, he'll lead that lap again. Remember, Mark Arthur started on the pole, JP, and quickly gave up that lead on the start, pardon me, and has not looked back since. So here's Carroll. Oh man, did you see that wiggle out of Arthur? It looks like he was like snaking the car for a second on the back straight, trying to gather together.
Still not done yet on the fight, though. Couple more laps to go with the stage. Arthur misses the bottom.
Ooh.
Just about turned Carroll with that slide. A51 machine contact. They crash. They crash for the lead. Arthur and Carroll spin on the back straightaway. It's going to be Brian Zimmerman who takes the lead in the stage as the top two wreck.
Wow, I'm excited to see what happened. If it's just a case of just fighting too hard on old tires, if someone got too aggressive. But instead of them finishing first and second to end a stage, we're not going to do that. This will be the end of the first stage, by the way. The stage will end under caution at the end of 48, even though it's under caution. But man, Mark Arthur's driving back up. Like, obviously, is going to put him back in that spot. Watch this replay here, JP.
Down the backstretch, makes contact, and Arthur clipped to the end. Carroll did make wall contact there. I believe this should come up towards the end of the stage. They are pitting before the stage end itself, though.
And that's, I mean, pit road's open, and under iRacing rules, it's only open for a certain amount of time, so you have to pit here. Like, you can't, if you ignore it the first time, you know, you don't get a second crack at it usually. So they're going to have to do it, and I guess this race off of pit road will help determine stage points. But based on that replay, it looked like maybe Mark Arthur just got too aggressive, JP. I'd love to see that replay again in full screen and see if we can analyze it once we're done with pit stops here. But it looked like maybe Arthur's got too aggressive out of the corner.
We're hearing Rupek missed a stall as some of these drivers sort themselves. Zimmerman over Carroll, then Paulson. Hearing it's on the 12 Mark Arthur race incident as a result of the situation. So under caution for the first time here tonight. Like to remind you that we do have a sponsor that is a sponsor of this series, that being the Ohio and Indiana Roofing Company, a premier roofing contractor, a sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise. Specializes in commercial industrial roofing, are committed to accompanying the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. We're a team of individuals who work for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. Services we offer include preventative maintenance, re-roof and new construction, infrared scanner, green roof solutions, metal, retrofit, emergency repair services, and more. Please visit oiroofing.com for more information. And again, under caution, here's a look one more time as right there causes the yellow.
Yep, right there caused the yellow, and then a big hit on that wall on the inside for Carroll. So just see what happens to both these cars moving forward in the race. We're already too wide and about to go green again. It's now Zimmerman up leading the field.
Yeah, and the drivers involved the caution that with Mark Arthur getting the fault on that one. Carroll will start third, Arthur at the tail. Indeed, Arthur lucky that didn't end up being so much more. He nearly hit the side of the 6 of Paulson.
And nearly got run over, by the way. We'll talk about that later, but he nearly got run over. It's about to go green here.
Green flag is out. Back underway. Good restart here as Zimmerman now leads them off to the corner. Again, this stage will now take us forward to approximately lap 96.
Look at this. They're already racing aggressively to start the stage. These drivers probably all happy to have new tires on that machine. So they're racing. Look at that, 3 wide right here in the middle of the field. And that orange car is going to back out of it and be 3 wide again. You tell these drivers are happy with new tires, JP, as there's a car in the wall.
Yeah, a little bit tricky on these cold tires now for some of these drivers, but Carroll is going for the lead already. Already to the inside of Zimmerman, the arms dealer. Carroll uses the bottom, makes it easy, and Chris Carroll now leads here at Richmond.
Well, I said I was concerned about Chris Carroll's car and what damage he may have had from hitting an inside wall. Obviously, the answer is not too much, because here he is back up front already. Resumed that lead after Brian Zimmerman only led a few laps. So obviously that car is okay for now. And again, I said, this is Richmond. You know, aerodynamics is not the most important thing. So luckily for him, that seems to be the case here.
Yeah, so far so good for TBB as well. Here's a look at some of the battling involving some of the one-sim cars going at it. That includes Derbyshire on the top, Kleinsmith making a move on the bottom. Also now joining the conversation, that's Nicholas Moody, 3 wide with Arthur corner exit.
Ooh. Well, boy, that certainly was a very scary 3 wide, I thought, right there. But I think they've got it worked out for them on back to 2x2 racing here. Good job. But by the way, you mentioned Austin Derbyshire. Tell me he's horrible at Richmond. Those were his words. Horrible at Richmond. Only ever has 1 top 5 here, and says he got lucky with the pit cycle. So he was hoping to maybe turn his luck around, but he does not feel optimistic about it.
Tech issue for Moresco. He's now off the track with the tech issue. So we lost a competitor for now, but up front. Good race by Zimmerman. Also been on the service for a fair bit amount of time. Zimmerman, the firearm dealer, has 61 career iRacing wins. Has also been married for 25 years. A father of 5. Doesn't have time for much except for one thing, racing.
Yeah, if you have father of 5, that's a full house right there. I mean, who knows? They've been married 25 years. Some of them may be just about to get out of the house, but that seems like a lot of work there. Married for 25 years. That's pretty awesome. That's one of those milestone anniversaries. I forget which one it is, JP. Those ones, you know, like paper and diamond and gold and aluminum. I forget how they all work, but I know 25 is one of those milestones.
Definitely is a milestone. I don't think there's anything material based out of it. At least I don't think. But still, it's a long time in the family when it comes to that together. So, see, most of the field has gone single file. Derrick Paulson is the one trying to push the tempo, though. That 6 machine in the Dark Horse car trying everything they can.
Yeah, doing a great job. He really is here. Now going to ride on board with Paulson here. And doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, just riding. Just doing what he can to ride along and wait for a moment. Although the moment seems to be going away as he gets loose again, has to back up the corner and has TBB all over him.
You know, what I do seem to notice about this track now, JP, is we're about 61, 62 laps in here. It does feel like maybe because we're racing in the daytime, because of how hot it is, or maybe the setup that's on these cars, this really kind of feels like a single lane racetrack so far. And I think for a lot of drivers, that's probably disappointing. A lot of drivers love the side-by-sides of Richmond. They love to kind of have those moments. You see the weather conditions here. You see the temperatures as they've kind of risen and fallen throughout the day. But this does kind of feel like it's getting that groove of a single file track. And why that concerns me, JP, is because it makes me think that likely towards the end of this race, you're going to have to move someone to get a spot. And that gets super, super dangerous in these ARCA cars.
Oh, there's some sort of skidding once again around some of the trouble. ARCA having some problems. Mark Arthur way low that time under Timothy Badcock. So they're able to hold on to it for now with that sequence. Remember this stage only going up to lap 96. This race is already flying by Derrick.
You know, the thing I was thinking about in my head, JP, you mentioned that there's only a limited amount of sets of tires all for these cars. I mean, it seems natural that when you want to pit on the stages that you want to put tires on. But if you go to lap 96 of 240 and you've already used 2 of your sets of tires, that's a long run before you can put tires on again. So for some drivers, I'm sure the obvious answer is you put tires on, you know, when that caution happens for the stage. But I don't know, right? Like, yeah, you'll suffer on the restart from having old tires, but could you benefit later from having more tires? That's a great question for tonight with the stage racing. We'll see how it works out. Here's looking back, I believe, from Derrick Paulson onto the 10 car. That's TBB. There's the TBB going to the inside. Digs it in deep. And I think that pass is going to work, JP. Nope, maybe not.
Yeah, just not for now. He's trying. But right now it seems as though Paulson has the momentum. The outside is a good defensive line over time. If you're able to defend from the outside, you're in a decent spot. Downside is it can burn up your stuff a little bit the more you fight here at a track like this.
Yeah, and the reason why it's a good defensive line is because, as you saw with the 10 there, he's not able to track out all the way. And by tracking out, I mean getting up against the wall and getting all the momentum out of the corner. Watch Dalton come into 41. He's going to get a better run off the corner because he gets more speed in that car. And so when you're not letting the 10 do that, then it's a good defensive, or in this case, maybe for Kilroy, a good offensive line, because he's going to make a pass on the 10 and get on around here.
Yeah, just resetting once again. It's the 7 jumps in line, and Gibson also So what goes to your mind in a race like this now, knowing how the pace is going and knowing it looks like we have a dominant driver up front, but we also have one of the more dominant drivers in pace at least that's slowly carving his way to the pack like Mark Arthur.
Yeah, Mark Arthur, of course, holds the fastest lap of the race at one point at 22:106. So I think what gets to my mind right now is hoping I can just get to the next yellow without getting lapped first off, because the pace of the leader right now at a 22:894, that's what Chris Carroll did last time. That's a good number. So, I mean, that's faster than Mark Arthur's going at it. So I'm just trying to manage the race right now. I'm trying to make sure I don't make a mistake. I'm probably scared about how loose it's been out of the corners, although it does feel like in the second stage, either the drivers have figured it out or something's happened. I don't think we're seeing as many cars wiggle out of the corners as we did in the first stage. But right now, this is just a management race. I mean, it's 240 laps around Richmond. That's a long race. We're here for probably about another, almost an hour if we were to stay green. So, you have to kind of keep calm, keep hydrated, and keep patient inside that virtual seat.
Right now, looking up front how things are going still. Still Zimmerman in second. Paulson doing what he can. Kilrow has taken away a spot from TBB though. Butcher Benjamin getting shuffled to the edge of the top 5. It's looking as though things seem to be on the up and up. Kilrow from 15th to 4th this race.
Yeah, as I said, Kilrow loves these cars. He loves these ARCA cars. He races them 3 nights in a row, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday here on Green Flag TV, doing SRA, Blazing Pedals, and High Tide Racing League. So he loves these cars, man. He's good at it, and he's always good somehow at fuel saving. He's one of those drivers. Remember like Ryan Newman back in the early 2000s? He always seemed to have an extra lap or two. Dalton Kilrow has the same attribute. Dalton Kilrow is known to stretch a fuel tank as far as or further than anyone in the field. Now, that won't matter right now, of course, because we'll have the caution come out before the fuel tank is empty. But it will matter once the stages are done, because they're going to have to make a green flag stop at some point, or a number of stops at some points. So saving gas could be important.
Extremely important here in a race like this, absolutely, when you break it down. Oh, you got trouble on the back straight away.
Trevor
Gray
Hardy.
and Pink Machine, yeah. Another Team 5 Motorsports machine taking a slide. Believe he snapped loose off of 2. Yet again, take a look.
I got help. I think he got help for looking up from the back angle there. I thought he got maybe a little bit of a swiping bump out of that corner from the car behind him, actually. See if we can confirm that from a different camera angle. But unfortunately, he went to the inside and hit the wall. Let's watch him here again out of this corner.
This is live.
Yeah, this is live. I just wanted to see it again to see if maybe that car was giving indications of being loose out of the corners. He did okay there. Let's watch it again. Here's the replay, by the way. This will be from the back.
Don't think they even touched.
No, you're right. I apologize. Yeah, from the 59, from the other angle, it looked like it was just, proximity view. But you're right, from that angle, they didn't touch at all. He just got loose, and the 59 tried to kind of roll up to avoid him. Well, here's Mark Arthur now trying to make a pass on a car. Arthur would love to get back to the front here, now trying to battle the 89 and having a hard time.
Yeah, Arthur's still quick. The problem is it's taken a lot of work to make passes. You say that, and then Kilrow just easily makes the pass for second. So I think Mark Arthur is really struggling when it comes to being in traffic compared to when there was less pressure up at the front where he was able to just breathe.
There's Mark Arthur in the bottom box, and here's battle up in the big box as well. I think a couple of things could be happening with Mark Arthur, right? It could be trouble just with traffic and how the car behaves in clean air versus dirty air. But what it could also be, honestly, JP, is a little bit of this frustration from the driver, right? He knows that there was a mistake made at the end of the first stage. He knows that he's been assigned the fault for that incident. And that can eat at you. That can fester in your mind. That can get a hold of you, your confidence, and really eat at your mental state. And once you get mad at yourself for making a mistake like that, it can be hard to kind of unwind yourself and say, hey, okay, listen, That was, 20, 30, 40 laps ago. Let's let go. It was an accident and move on. Some drivers don't possess that ability.
Yeah, good point on that. Looking at some of the drivers at the back of the field, this is Trevor Harmon and Nicholas Moody. These drivers are really struggling when it comes to the pace of the track right now. Harmon regrouping from a slide already. Moody running 23-second lap times. Well, high 23s. The drivers up in the front are running a good 23.2, while these drivers are running on average in the 6s to 8s.
Yeah, so that tells me they're not really comfortable here, whether it be the track temp, their experience at the track, or something has them uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, there was a car on the wall in the back. Ooh, that was a hard hit. That was the 20 car of Mike Massengill, and he clobbered that outside wall.
Yeah, that time making some mistakes that time. Again, the Black Hawk Motorsports machine not having a good time at the back. He's currently the last driver on the lead lap as things go. Meanwhile, it's going the wrong way for Derrick Paulson now. He's all the way down to 4th spot now in the running order as things go. And he's got pretty bad traffic to deal with. The 99 up top. TBB down low. Going to have to lift up the throttle to make sure there's no contact. Speaking of which, Cody Gibson may have made some.
Wow, if he didn't, regardless, that was a great save to have that car pointed that far to the infield and get a hold of it. But wow, that's incredible here. We're just about to the end of the stage, less than 10 laps before that caution flies. Watch the 7 again in the back of that shot initially. Not sure if maybe he just yanked the wheel a little too hard. He got concerned about the car on the outside, but he got it saved back up.
Meanwhile, as we're down to less than 10 to go on the stage, Chris Carroll has outright been dominant up front. He's pulled away compared to 3rd spot by more than 3 seconds. Carroll's been untouchable.
Yeah, very different than I think the first stage with Mark Arthur, right? Arthur really put up a good challenge as we see a bit of a battle there with the 99. That is Timothy Babcock and Daniel Rupek. Remember, Rupek missed his pit stall into that first caution. Had to come back around and fix that, but this is very different for Carroll. So either he's gotten more comfortable, or maybe he just doesn't. Kilroy maybe have used up more, tires and equipment getting up to him versus Mark Arthur, but this is a much bigger lead here.
Some of the other people at the end of the top 10 right now looking like this. That 33 machine amongst those trying to dart around. John Perkins in the Speed Mafia car in front of Phil Van Fleet. Here's a look up front, though. TBB under attack. Gibson trying to run outside line for the pass. That's going to be hard to do, but he's got a great run to try and make the move.
Yeah, it's got a good run, but I think he got a little too wide and missed the start of that corner. So if he can get back on the pedal appropriately, he might be able to get a little bit of draft. Not a word we use too commonly here, but I think he got just an inkling of a draft from Derrick Paulson, and that may have helped him hold that lead that time by. By the way, I know we said Paulson, sliding backwards, not having a good day. That said, Paulson told me his goal today is only a top 10. So by that standard, Derrick Paulson in 4th, likely still happy.
Yeah, still where he started, actually. Hold on a moment. He's sliding. There goes TBB. There goes Gibson. Both of them slide on past Paulson, dropping back to 6th. And they're able to jump on through as meanwhile, Mark Arthur's recovery has seen him now be in a battle for 7th with Powell.
Mark Arthur trying his best to get caught back up here into this battle. He's right next to Jason Powell, and they were pretty close together there, but we're going to keep off one another. By the way, Mark Arthur changed the paint scheme this week, I'm pretty sure, JP. Last time by, when at Talladega, he ran a Mario Kart scheme. This week he's got a Barbie paint scheme on there, so always fun to see drivers changing up those paint schemes every now and then to keep us kind of on our toes and guessing. But he's going to try here with only a couple laps to go here.
Pit road is already closed as Carroll reaches lap traffic. That's not making it easy for him. That is right. Now Joey Neese trying to prevent himself from going 2 down. That's not going to happen. 1 to go in the stage.
Was that Chris Carroll I heard a second ago say, "Are you kidding me?" in relation to racing Joey Neese? I think it was.
Yes.
Wasn't happy. Felt like maybe Joey Neese should have moved out of his way and let him go. And I talked about that earlier about how lap cars under stages are not going to be that nice. They'll be nicer towards the end of the race when there's less to fight for. But here's the caution for the stage.
Chris Carroll wins the stage. Dalton Kimbrough second. Zimmerman, Butcher Benjamin, Gibson the top 5. Paulson, Powell, Arthur, Bell, and Perkins round up the top 10 at the time of the stage. 2 stages complete, Derek. Your thoughts?
Well, overall, a pretty clean race, which is something that we don't always see at Richmond. And I think maybe the tire tips, the single lane racing are helping with that. Seeing a really bit of a domination by Chris Carroll, so he's got to be one of the happier drivers in the field right now. But Dalton Kimbrough up 13 spots. He might have something to say about this in this last stage here.
It's going to get fun here in this upcoming stage. And mind you, based on the fuel distance, it's going to be potentially about making sure you can make it 70-70 on the stints or 75-65, depending on how far you can go. Yeah, they go into pit lane as expected. Everybody coming down for tires. There is one car that's now rejoined the race that's now made a pass on circuit. Justin Levine, who missed the start, is back in the race. Downside, he's 43 laps down.
The positive side is he'll score points for the night by being here. So good news for him that he'll not take home a goose egg. Watch the pit stops here real quick. Here you see everyone's going to do 4 tires and gas. No reason to play with the strategy here. No, I don't think we need cute moves. All the pit stop times on your right indicate 4 tires and gas. Carroll 14.1, Kilrow 14.5, 14.2. Pretty consistent number there. A little high one for Jason Powell, 14.9. 15 seconds I saw go by a second ago.
So the race out pit road looking like that right now. Carroll, Kilrow, Zimmerman, Gibson, TBB, Paulson, Arthur, Powell, Bell, and Perkins. In fact, I don't really think any positions really changed in that pit stop cycle, interestingly enough, for that one, as Meskill stays in front. So, curious of what's going on with one of the drivers. You mentioned Ty Marasco having some issues. Why don't you try and pull him up here, Derek?
Yeah, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get a hold of Ty Marasco. I think we have a couple questions we want to ask. Let's see if we can get him up. Sorry, I'm scrolling. There we go. Ty Marasco, welcome into the Green Flag TV broadcast booth. I have a couple questions. First off, 2 stages in, how's the car feeling? Ty Marasco? I don't think Ty Marasco has a copy.
Ty, do you have a copy? No, he does not.
No, did not. All right, well, we'll try that later. We'll see if we can get back to Ty Marasco and catch up with him. I want to have a talk with Ty about why the DQ and other comments about the race.
I think he's
track,
left.
though. I think we may have missed our mark there, unfortunately.
Yeah, he is 46 laps down, had technical issues. He's off the racetrack.
Let's do this here. Let's we're going green, so we'll catch up with other people later in this race.
So we are coming up now to 140, make it 139 to go at the stripe. The Pit Lizard performance car of Chris Carroll leads them to the green flag, back underway. Carroll looking to keep up the domination up front.
That's a pretty big jump he got there on Dalton Kimbrough in the 41 and on Brian Zimmerman in the 28. Now he's got a nice clean track while those guys are side by side behind him. This can be how he can pick up that big lead again if he wants to.
With this race trending green at least, we may see this go the distance in terms of the run if we keep on going here. We'll have to keep an eye on how things fare out here. Kilrow has confirmed to get second. Oh, some drivers bobbling in the back of the field. It's 3 wide for a moment back there. Some troubles involving the red and blue machine you see dropping back at the bottom of the racetrack. That right there is Larry Bell, who had a bobble.
Yeah, I did okay. Got it recovered out and is moving forward here in that 43 machine, and it's barely keeping off the car on top of him. Going to try to get past here, and there's going to be a car digging the bottom. That's the 99. Going to make a successful pass on Larry Bell.
Oh, some wall contact in front of him with Lawson. As we take a look at the 60 machine now. 60, Moody is a sheriff. In fact, he's a detective at a sheriff department. Nicholas Moody. He works over in Clark County as a sheriff. And so far tonight has been trying to get on the case of where can I find the speed. It's his first season, mind you. Up front, TBB battling with Gibson.
Yeah, you're right. So this has been a battle I think we've seen all night long. These guys have just sort of been like magnetically connected to one another, haven't they? Just all day long, just right here side by side, battling inside, outside, forwards, backwards, whatever way you want to take it. But if I'm TBB, I'm a little nervous because we've seen the 7 car get loose multiple times throughout this race. So if I'm a driver, I keep that in mind, right? And I say, hey, listen, I need to give him space. Not enough to let him pull away, but enough that if he does get snappy loose again, that I don't find myself involved, in that accident. So that's a thing that can play into a driver's mind. And that's why you want to be around him. You don't have to deal with those things. When you're behind him, you have to be aware of those problems.
Looks like can confirm the issue. Moresco was now out of the race. He had a power failure. He confirmed a little while ago, so he had a power outage in the 1 cam. That's why he's likely going to be last on the order. So we continue to keep an eye on the 7. 7 trying to dig, as Zimmerman continues to defend.
Yeah, and 7's doing a great job. I mentioned it earlier in the race. He had those problems with getting loose, and well, right now he doesn't. And there's a 10 trying to swing it way wide. There's Mark Arthur on the inside. Derrick Paulson's now trying to make a move here. Remember, this is the battle for 4th, by the way. This is how tight this is. You see there again, there's the 10, there's Arthur, there's the 7. Then that's Brian Zimmerman up in front of them. And then Kilrow and Carroll up in the top of your screen there are fighting for the lead.
Yeah, see them keeping pretty close. Carroll's not necessarily running away right now from this entire pack. Just maintaining the tires seems to be the focal point. Great Lakes Sim driver hits the wall. That's going to cost him some time, but he's now under pressure. You know who's in that rear view mirror? Mark Arthur has popped up.
Yeah, Arthur's doing a great drive back to the field after that contact to end the first stage and doing a pretty awesome job. So congrats to him. By the way, someone else worth giving congratulations to, there's lots of drivers, different reasons, but Tanner Marr is back here in the field, and it is his birthday today, JP.
Happy birthday to Tanner, and so far tonight.
Yeah, turning 33, so right now, back in P10, maybe not the run he wanted. Somebody was feeling decent about the car. Said the little bit of practice he'd gotten, said the car was, quote, fairly loose. I think that's a fair comment. So he's hoping for a top 10. But boy, what a birthday gift it would be to yourself. Come out here and winning at Richmond.
I believe he had another request. I think he said
he said he wanted Justin Prince to sing to him is what he said.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Now, you've pulled that trick before. Yeah, you've pulled that trick before. I'm not the rookie I once was, Justin Prince. The hazing is over.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear 4-car. Happy birthday to you. There. You got your wish.
That's the nice version. You can be like, how old are you?
33.
Yeah, I guess you know that already. You don't have to sing that part of the song, do you? There you go. Happy birthday for Tanner Marr. Yeah, we're going to clip that. That'll be in the iRacing Top 10 next month, maybe. Justin Prince singing happy birthday to a driver on track. We'll work on that.
Oh, trouble. Back straight away. Gibson snapped loose. He's held on to it, though, with the bobble avoiding the walls.
That was pretty deep down the back from where we saw his car, by the way. Look at this. That's really deep down the back street to have that happen to you. Typically, you snap off the corner. That car, did he stab the brakes maybe to get checked up behind the car in front of him? That's an odd place to see that, right, JP?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a weird position. Let's take a look one more time. As, yeah, might have been more so the wiggles stemming from the corner exit. But usually we've seen people knock the wall down when they do that. Right. Not that time.
Well, and typically they wiggle way sooner. I almost wonder if he stabbed the brake getting ready for the corner or trying to check up for the car in front of him. And that's what caused that. But again, the theme for that car tonight has been the saves, right? That 7 car has saved that car so many times. It's been impressive. Scary for him, but impressive.
Impressive indeed so far as we continue to look across the field here. It's going to be interesting if Gibson's able to recover those spots. He's going to gain one back maybe here as Perkins scraped the wall again. And those team calculations are going to be so difficult to build up, but some of these drivers are going to, as a team, be really down low on those totals. Oh, that's near contact by the birthday boy. As there's a look at those team breakdowns by those who filled out those details.
Yeah, something hopefully we'll get some more of in the next week or so and get those better filled out. You see some of the team indications here. You see MFRD, 5 Kings, 2 Dudes, Team 5, and so on here on your team standings. So like I said, hopefully we'll get more drivers to fill that out. We'll work on that this week so that data will be more complete. Well, what's in my head right now, JP, as a driver? We cautioned at the end of 96, so we probably went green on lap of 100 or 101. So that means I got to do 140 laps roughly, assuming there's no cautions here, right? Which, I mean, the trend so far has been that way. So 70 laps is just about a fuel run. It makes me wonder the what ifs, right? Like, how are these drivers going to feel 70 laps as longer than we went on a green flag run tonight? Those tires could be unhappy. The fuel loads will be lighter. The cars will be a little more willing to wiggle around. This is going to be a really interesting green flag run if it stays green, because we're not too far from uncharted territory. But look at the temperatures here on the track. You see the different lines there showing the weather conditions. It's now 2:49 p.m. virtual sim time, by the way. And if we can go to the other graphic and show the actual numerical values, I want to point out to you, look at this here. If I can do this, look at that temperature right there. I'll circle it here on our telestrator in a second. 112 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll see my oblong circle. I think I'm trying to draw one here. There it is. I was not an A student in art, by the way. So look at that there. 112 degrees. That track is only getting hotter, JP, as the day goes on. Here, let me see if I can make you a better circle. Let's see if I can do this. We'll play with it live here. Nope, not even close. That's okay. Technology 1, Derrick 0.
I mean, it's a circle.
Yeah, but not where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's the size of the moon, but it's a big circle. Now, outside line, Arthur trying to keep up his progression. And it looks like Mark Arthur will do exactly that with the pass on the outside, just about here. All sorted out on the move,
oh,
but the caution flag is out. It's back straight away into 3. Rupek is slow. I believe he and Larry Bell tangled together, as well as a couple others.
Wow, this will be, I guess, technically our second caution for cause. The first one happened right at the end of the stage, so I'd kind of forgotten it was for cause and not for the stage, but this will kind of break up that run a little bit we talked about. So this is 2 laps ago. Let's watch this right here. Watch Trevor Harmon sort of got in the back end of that car. There's Larry Bell going to the outside. There's Harmon trying to gather together. So this looks okay, JP. I don't know what happened. That's not the caution.
This is the caution. Watch as right down, this is not going to be the lap here. I believe it's the next time by. They all wiggled together. Larry Bell lost the TV panel. No fast repairs in the series going to cost him. As here's a look now. This is it here because Babcock hit the wall.
Yeah, Bob hit the wall first, and then I don't know what exactly happened there to get Bell sort of up in there as well. And he sandwiched a car. That's the 72, I believe. He sandwiched up into the wall.
And here's the thing, no tires for a lot of teams here. Remember the tire shortage we just touched upon? That's going to really impact things as these drivers try and make sure they save a set, and Carroll saved one.
What I'm more curious about, I understand the no tire call, right? I get that part. He did come down pit road, so he did put gas in this car. That's the part I was concerned about at first. The car in front of him, however, watch this here, replay again. We'll come back to my point in a second. This is Daniel Rupak we're riding on. Nope, sorry, that's not Rupak. That's a car who avoided the wreck. That's a 64, I believe, Austin Derbyshire. Great job by him. But I was going to say what I was concerned about is making sure everyone puts gas in the car. This way the cars don't, the fuel run would be important here. But now the question I pose in my head, though, JP, if I'm Mark Arthur, if I'm Brian Zimmerman, if I'm Dalton Kilroe, on down the field, you and I both know, we're veterans of iRacing. We know how nervous everyone gets when there's a driver up front who's on old tires, right? We all talk about it. We all sort of point. We all make a note of it. Whether it just be maybe he misses the start by accident, he spins the tires, how quickly he gets engulfed by the field on old tires. This could be very interesting to see how this field reacts with Chris Carroll on old tires. I'm concerned he's going to fall deep in the field pretty quickly.
Mark Arthur's also in the same boat. Believe John Perkins also the same. So the extra set being utilized, though, by drivers like Zimmerman, Mike Kilroe, and Paulson. See how this really goes now in this field. This is going to get wild.
The goodness for Carroll is that Mark Arthur did the same thing on the outside. They together might be able to kind of hold off the field until they get back up to speed.
Green flag is out. Tire spin for Arthur. Zimmerman already to second. Let's watch the corner difference over time now. These drivers turned about 30 laps on old rubber. Those who stayed out here, and Carroll is going to have to play significant defense if he wants a shot up front.
Yeah, he's going to have to. You're right. And look at the better example of what you're talking about back there in third and fourth with Dalton Kilroe just kind of powering his way around Mark Arthur. Watch the bottom of the corner here. Just move right on by. Now a little choo-choo train is going to start there. Now it's going to be, I believe, Derrick Paulson to the inside, and that will continue. And then there you go. Already looking for the lead. It's already Zimmerman ahead of Chris Carroll.
Not a surprise, and Kilroe looking to do the same now for second. Arthur's already been swarmed by the pack and swallowed by it. There's a look at Arthur, in fact, getting swallowed out by TBB. And those old tires, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot in the track position game because of the time of the caution flag, Derrick. But this is the game you have to play in case you get a late caution. Otherwise, these drivers who just pit may get stuck on old tires at the end of the race for a restart.
Yeah, that may be that thing to worry about, right? Is, when do you pit again and what do you get out of it? Will be a very good question here. So you pitted at stage, caution. If drivers took a set every time, that would be the last of their sets, if I understand correctly. They should have 4 sets total, one they started with plus 3 swaps. Some drivers could be out of tires here.
Total of 5, so it's going to be 4 total swaps.
Okay, yeah, 1 more. So, but the thing that may also matter in these, if we stay green and those green flag pit stops, the drivers who pitted here on lap 129, they're going to be able to go here in theory to about 199 or maybe 200 on that gas tank. So, do they need as much gas? Could they get away taking right sides? It's lots of questions to ask as Mark Arthur gets moved out of the way there. My goodness.
Yeah, he's going absolutely the wrong way and may need a caution to equalize things with the way things are looking here on this one. Same going to be for Carroll. Been the dominant force all race before that moment. On the bright side for the field, Carroll, I think, knows the situation is just letting cars go as they try and make these moves. Arthur's fighting it.
Yeah, that is the difference, right? Mark Arthur feels the need to fight it, and maybe because he's falling further back, right? Maybe he's not as comfortable on old tires as Carroll is, because you're right. Carroll seems just kind of content, just kind of okay with things. Mark Arthur seems to be struggling a little bit here. further back in the field. So now we saw that Dalton Kilbo's got around. Derrick Paulson got around Carroll. He's now under attack by TBB. Cody Gibson would be not that far back. So lots of drivers here to talk about. By the way, speaking of Cody Gibson, told me, by the way, this is an interesting combination, JP. He loves Richmond so far, not in love with the ARCA car. We've all been in a spot where maybe we've loved the track and not the car, and it sort of makes for a very confusing night when you go to a track where you don't feel comfortable inside the machine.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act where, if it's another car, just another type of vehicle, I might be able to do this.
Right.
But sometimes it's just about the learning curve that you come down to over time to learn this car before you really learn how to drive the track like you want to, like you would in another car. Carroll bounced off the wall. That's why they check things up. Levine trying to make some passes on some of these cars on the lead lap here as lap traffic.
And by the way, if you're some of these cars and Levine's passing you, I mean, if he's doing it cleanly and fast, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. But there is this mentality we have as drivers, like, hey, dude, you're, 40-some laps down or more. Why are you fighting me? Right? That's the driver that I almost say that entitlement that cars get or drivers get, saying, hey, knock it off. Like, what are you racing for? Stop fighting me. You're making me feel, loose or dangerous or slow or whatever. And it can lead to this weird resentment that maybe shouldn't exist, but it's just one of those driver things that happens inside the car.
Oh, a bit of a slide up the track. That time, a lean by Kleinsmith. Kleinsmith having a lean on the steering wheel to prevent it from snapping around there. That got a little bit nerve-wracking for the one sim car.
Got a little nerve-wracking for everybody because he was leaned up against the 97, but there were also cars behind him who were hoping they could maybe take advantage of a pass and then saw that and go, whoa, let's back up. So, it wasn't just for the 97. And for Kleinsmith also, I think Philip Van Vliet probably was nervous, Jason Powell was nervous, and others who saw a potential caution forming right in front of them here.
Indeed, here's a look from Carroll yet again. Running 29.9s at the moment. Some of the drivers have already fallen off to the 23 flats in this pack. Veen reaching underneath some of these drivers, still running 24th as time goes on. 43 laps down. Still 95 laps to go, a long one still for these drivers to deal with.
Yeah, very long one. Hold on, caution that again. I was just about to talk about Chris Carroll and the run he's having, but there's, Trevor Harmon, I think Nicholas Moody. There's another car just about, there's more cars involved. Oh my gosh, there's 4 or 5 cars. There's a front end of a car if someone wants to take one home. There's one sitting there free to a good home on the track.
Timothy Babcock, I think, was the home it fell off of there. He's lost the front tire in the accident. Nicholas Moody as well, Trevor Harmon, Mike Massengill also being investigated by race control as we take a look at the 20 with them being very hobbled down on damage.
That's apparently more than one driver lost a front end in that wreck, and we'll wait to see why. You see Massengill already on pit road. The timer is there on the right side of your screen, and already getting service in that car. Well, this will change up everything. All the talks we had about green flag runs probably over. The math is going to work itself out from the yellows, unfortunately. Here's the replay. Well, the 99 just got kind of bumped from the 60, and then it became a parking lot, and is someone going to drive into it? Oh my gosh. Hello.
Wants to go right into it. Oh, the 88 also into it.
Gosh, late.
We've just heard the 60 may have got responsibility for that, for the contact.
And I don't know if I agree with that, actually. I mean, well, obviously race control makes their call, but in my opinion, the 60 got in the front of the 99, but the 99 sort of like, I don't know,
90.
JP. Yeah.
I think the 99 came down.
That's what I would think too, right? With the benefit of the first, just those couple of looks, but my goodness, that 20 car needed to check up for the caution. I'm sure the lights were on. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, again, an incident involving the car. Race incidents the text being shared by the sim. So we did see pit stops, and I believe fuel only for Brian Zimmerman. Here's a look at the replay again.
I just feel like the 99 probably came down, and he made a lane move before that as well that sort of put him in that spot. I don't know what I think of that, so it's okay. That's race control's job to figure it out. They get the benefit of slow motion replays and more time than we have to work it out.
This caution is the nightmare that some of the drivers that just took a set now have to enter. Brian Zimmerman had to take no tires in that sequence. There's still 20 laps out or so from the green light on fuel. Chris Carroll did use that extra set of tires he had, though. See some of the pit deltas, and we did see a fair amount of drivers just stay out. 7 total stayed out on the track.
All right, well, let's do this real quick under the caution. Let's get a point of view of the incident. Let's go to bring in Timothy Babcock, driver of the 99. Timothy, just involved in an incident here. What's your point of view of what happened?
I think that they stayed out on older tires, and a couple of us on that last caution had good tires, and we were coming back up through there, and he probably just got loose on the inside of me and turned me. But I think because we're in ARCA cars, the 20 car used ARCA brakes. But
all right, well, we're about to go green, so I'll put you back with your team. Good luck here.
thank you.
I think Timothy Babcock had a broken axle, so that luck may ran out already. But we're underway. Keep an eye on Chris Carroll, 10th spot. He's been fast all night as the older tires of Kilroe lead in front over Gibson and TBB.
Well, let's see how this race plays out now. 89 laps to go, and I think the patience will get less here. Looks like some cloud coverage hit the track, though, so we'll need to talk about that as the day goes on. But boy, oh boy, look at this fast moves around the track. By Austin Derbyshire down on pit road. See that timer clicking up there, by the way, JP. Not sure what would have caused that, but he's down there under green getting repairs done.
Gary, he towed right as the green came out. Oh, that's a bit of a moment there. Bit of a moment.
97 leaned up against that car ahead of him there, and they got it all worked out. But he's trying to quickly as Chris Carroll. Remember, Carroll likely happy here. I'm assuming Chris Carroll would have gotten tires under this last caution and would now start to work his way through the field. So as fast as we saw him fall through the field, JP, look at it now. He's probably going to start to power his way back up front on new tires.
Carroll ends up moving up another spot now. That's for the 6th position. So he keeps the march going forward. Kleinsmith gets a bobble. Now Zimmerman tries to take a 3 wide. Arthur almost all over the back end of Zimmerman. So they get all checked up. 86 laps to go.
Yeah, man, tight battles happening across the field here. And this is one of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars involved. 7 cars, car in the back, all want in the same spot and all trying to get it here.
Yeah, this is the problem. Sometimes side by side, everyone wants to go, but only so many spots to go. Arthur, again, not expecting the early break. It looks like a Kleinsmith nearly ran him over.
Arthur is, of course, also on new tires, just like Chris Carroll is. So I'm a little surprised to see Arthur kind of being this patient in a way, JP. If I had new tires, I wouldn't want to burn them up sitting back here. I'd be digging to the bottom of the track. I'd be digging to the outside of the track. 20 laps or not, I just think that difference should be more powerful. We see Chris Carroll sort of strong-arming the field, but he is right behind Kleinsmith here. To me, you got to get in here just like this. You got to make it happen and kind of throw your weight around, so to speak.
Yeah, he could have taken a 3 wide if he wanted to a couple times there. Now it's going to be difficult that he's chewed up some stuff as a result of all the checkups now. This time around, though, he's able to make up the spot just about. Just needs to clear and get the job done on Kleinsmith. Kleinsmith not making it easy right now as he's not able to close the door. Arthur now clear.
They're doing a great job getting clear. moving on through. By the way, this week in the Blazing Pedals Discord, we had some fun with the drivers, getting to know them. Had a talk about their favorite and least favorite subjects in either college or high school. Mark Arthur told me he loves math and catches JP. He hates history. In fact, he said he hated history so bad the first year. I'm assuming in college. He failed it by scoring a 36%, had to retake it the next year. Failed with a 36. That takes effort to fail that low of a score. But Mark Arthur said he loves his math. And listen, I get it. I'm not a big fan of history. Not my favorite topic. I think it's kind of boring, honestly. But yeah. So Mark Arthur there. Had other drivers say they also loved and hated history. Mike Massengill loves math. Dalton Kilrow loved math. I don't know if there's a connection, JP, between loving math and stock car racing. But that was probably the most common answer we got all day.
You know, the funny thing is I had a history test once when I was in grade 9. And this is related to this topic that you're bringing up. That's why I bring this up. It was one of those introductory tests where it was just to see, okay, where's the knowledge like in the class? I end up doing the test where go through each of the questions, get them right in terms of getting each of the answers through, getting that correct. But it gets to the last question. And one of my colleagues who they were doing self-grading from some of the ERA classmates in front was like, Justin, don't you want to change this answer? I put math as the favorite on the test. It was the last question. It was the only question I got wrong on that test.
There you go. So I'm assuming you love history.
I like history these days, yes.
Fair
yes.
enough. And I can tell you do. You're a bit of a
For the
history
lead.
buff. Yeah, for the lead here. So say there's some history here throughout this race between Carroll and Dalton Kilrow. And Kilrow's doing a great job of holding off Carroll. But, I thought Carroll was going to use the bumper right there, JP.
Oh, he used the door gnome almost just about on that pass attempt. Chevy SS trying to find a way to slip on by without providing an incident. Drivers right now on the fresh tires are running 22.6s. Now he used the bumper.
There it is.
Kilrow held on to it, though.
Well, I don't know if either one of these drivers loves history or not, but there's now some history between them because Dalton Kilrow will not forget that right there. He'll keep that in mind. In fact, he may have just kind of let Carroll go and say, hey, let me try that. That looked fun. Let me show you how that felt. But the benefactor in all this is Cody Gibson. And math says that he's moving forward. Oh, hold on.
He actually did it. He actually did it on the bumper.
Not as hard, I think, as Carroll did.
Yeah, but now Chris Carroll looks to set sail on the fresher tires. Last time by for the older tires, they were a tenth or two slower, so they're starting to equalize a little bit, actually, Derrick, on the rubber.
I wonder if that was Kilrow's only shot, by the way. I wonder if that was... It looks like Carroll's pulling away. So what I mean is I wonder if Kilrow's can get another chance to use that bumper, assuming we stay green. I don't know, because Carroll's already starting to put a small bit of a margin here between the two of them. So we'll see. But right now, I mean, obviously Carroll, I think, got the best of that exchange. He used the bumper a little harder than Kilrow did. But congrats to both of them. I think we need to stop and say that. Both of them used the bumper. Both of them sort of got their opponent's attention, but used it kind of respectfully and decently, so no one got wrecked in that exchange. And even though that is the right way to do it, that's maybe not the most common way it happens across the iRacing service.
There's the difference right now between the two on fresher tires. You know who's quicker? Mark Arthur by a tenth of a second last time by. So Arthur is doing a better job on his tires getting through these cars, so to speak. The downside is he lost much more traffic compared to Carroll and more spots in general. So far, Arthur been able to claw his way back into fifth. Needs to keep it going. He's still got an interval of about a second and 3/4 to close up.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do here. He has just a small bit of open track ahead of him here. That's going to close up pretty quickly. And so he's going to go from being able to kind of run his own lap and his own braking points to needing to worry about the braking points of Tyler Butcher Benjamin, Cody Gibson, and others up ahead here. So we'll see how that affects how he runs the rest of this race. You know, by the way, the most polarizing answer, coming back for a second to that topic, since we have a moment here. The topic, the class of English or lit or grammar, whatever you call it in your schooling system, was the most polarizing answer throughout the day. A lot of people, I love it. I love to write. I love to do all that. Some people hate it, though. I was really surprised how polarizing of an answer English and grammar class was across the Blazing Pedals Discord.
Arthur! He tried to go on the
bump.
dive. Oh, he tried to dive hard up the inside. That was slammed shut by TBB.
I think a bit of both, honestly. I think TBB did kind of close the lane, but I think Arthur didn't want to do it as well. Watch this here. Listen in. See how much he was off the gas there, right? He didn't want to use the bumper, and that's, you know, personal. That's Rupak on pit road there. That seems a little early, but that's personal preference whether you want to use the bumper or not. By the way, that's it. Yeah. Well, the Rupak's on pit road. I don't have an answer for why on that. Sometimes I think I know, but we'll move on past that. But here's the 7 now. And I wonder if Mark Arthur gets there again, JP, if he lifts. Because now he knows that TBB will close that door. And he knows the laps are ticking down. He knows the time is ticking away. With 64 to go, I wonder if he's going to be as nice the second time as he was the first time.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. I think he's just trying to keep this as clean as possible. I think he wants to make sure there's no passes without contact, and then go from there. He doesn't seem to like physicality based on what we've seen from him. Just marginally quicker right now than these on older tires by 1/10 of a second. That little speed difference could only take you so far, and it looks like this time Butcher Benjamin giving him to the inside, but not giving up the spot. Still going to fight it.
Doing a great job of fighting it so far. It's got up to top lane. We've seen throughout the day, this top lane has worked at being defensive because it doesn't allow the driver on the bottom to get the run they want. And I think, again, it's going to work here for TBB. JP, are those pickles duct taped to that car?
Yes, Pickle Rick.
Is this a Rick and Morty thing?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This is of the vast topics I have knowledge of, I do not know of or understand Rick and Morty, so I'll take your word for it.
Wow. That's a meme that's been around for 2 to 3 years, mind you.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, I know of the meme, but I'd have never seen Rick and Morty. I don't get it.
Well, 60 laps to go, regardless, on the track. Let's take a look at this. Gibson. He had that big slide earlier. He's still holding on to third now. After his quick recovery from that. Good job so far from the 7 all night long on pace.
Yeah, a great job. Oh, there's a car to the way to the inside. That was a lap down car, I'm pretty sure. I think he was just maybe get out of the way. I'm not sure if he was got loose or just wanted to. And that's a 58 coming down pit road here.
Oh, that's way too slow on the access road. That's going to cost him a lot of time on the track in general.
Remember, Joey Neese is the driver who said he never seen or touched Richmond before tonight, so that's sort of indicative of someone who did that. And I guess I will say here, I was kind of curious. We are within the window of fuel range. We were told 70 to 75 laps, we're 58 to go. Do you think Rupak and Neese are just sort of pitting early just to be different? I don't know. You're going to lose a couple laps here, but everyone has to pit eventually. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just their strategy.
Larry Bell?
Now, Larry Bell having to come on in. It's one of the drivers that have picked up damage in this race to his machine, so coming down for service. Gibson, meanwhile, continues on the racetrack of the battle. Mark Arthur has reeled them on down as we are already in range to make it to the end on gas, depending on how these drivers want to play this race.
Now, the concern I have for drivers like Larry Bell and Rupak and others that are pitting right now, the dangerous game you're flirting with is that pesky yellow flag, right? If that thing comes out, before the field has finished taking gas or pitting or whatever we're going to do, you're going to get stuck. What do you think, JP? 2 laps down here at Richmond while you pit under green?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the risk you're facing, is probably a 2-lap difference here that you could be stuck when that yellow flag comes out. So that's why drivers are scared to do it a little early here at this track. Here is a look at Larry Bell. He's way up top, and let's see what happened here. And a little bit of a bump maybe right there from the 60.
Yeah, that was a bit of a contact.
goodness.
Brad Lawson just took a bit of an excursion from that. More pit stops from Matthew Kleinschmidt. He was an aero driver who was on the lead lap in for scheduled service. So it looks like some of the drivers coming in now to get a running start on their tires. Yes, you don't want to fall a lap down, Derrick, but you also don't want to leave it so late that you can't gain the time back.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. This is that tipping scale, right? Of if you wait to the end to pit, remember we pitted on lap 49 for Chris Carroll. So 70 laps is 219. I don't know if you need to gain the time. Like, what I mean by that is, yes, they'll get new tires and they'll run you down. But if you just went a gas only on that last stop, your stop could be so quick that you might leverage that number back ahead. That's the question to play here. And again, that yellow flag, we've seen a couple yellows come out pretty quickly here. Now I start to get scared. It's not the green flag run we had, for a long time. So I don't know. I'm a run the car dry kind of guy. I get scared about those caution flags and the what ifs and what have you. But you're right. Sometimes that is a detriment to a driver.
50 to go, and Carroll stabbing some excursion lap traffic, and he's got a lap back, and there was a lot of communication on how to do it. 2 tires taken by Kleinsmith, by the way. That keeps him 1 lap down. How is that going to work out? That's a big split on the left sides compared to the rights.
Well, the good news in that call, even if I don't necessarily agree with it, is the right sides of the tires you're using more, right? So presumably you take 2 tires, you're taking right sides. And as we heard from some drivers, including Dalton Kilroe, they were most concerned about the wear on the right side. So we'll see how it works out. For now, it'll be okay, probably. But later in the run, what will happen when, as you said, when those tires are off kilter, I would think that car would get more and more loose on a 2-tire run typically at a track like this. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But for now, Kleinschmidt will do well. He's currently running back in, P14. He may gain a lot of time on these drivers ahead. There was a car on the wall back there. I think he got it worked out.
Didn't stop, though. That's the bright side in that sequence. But hey, we continue on. Chris Carroll still holding on to the race lead. You see his times at the moment. Here's a lucky room pick. He was the one who hit him. And that ends up seeing a big bobble.
I think that's a case of speed difference where Rupek likely took tires in that stop we saw about, 20 laps ago, and maybe just was not aware of the difference in speed, or just could not quite, visualize what it was going to be. He's gotten the back end of him, but everything's going okay here. This is Dalton Kilroe, by the way. This is the P2 Dalton Kilroe being run down by Mark Arthur. And both of them have Chris Carroll up ahead. By the way, look at that, JP. Look at that temp here. This is the temp as of right now. Look at that track temp. Let me circle it for you again here. I'll try it's better here this time. No, not really. Not better. Again, 101, though. That's the important number, JP. That is down, 10 plus degrees from a few minutes ago?
Yeah, and that's part of the 2-time sun really factoring in. Also, we've had the clouds really scatter above the racetrack. It's been shady for the past 10-15 minutes, and that shade is going to make it cool and cooler. There's the look at the curve so far. See where it peaked early in the race. It's gone down and down since then. The air temp has really basically stayed the same for the most part. Oh, it's contact.
Oh, boy.
Arthur underneath Kilroe, near contact again.
I'll tell you what, Arthur was not willing to use the car as a weapon earlier, but this time he seemed to be a little bit more okay with it in that moment, but everyone worked out okay. But you notice our producer, Dustin Ollis, was trying to show off right there. Drew a perfect circle. Well, he's using a mouse I'm trying to draw on my tablets. Maybe I need to upgrade my skills. I don't know. Let me get an Apple Pen or something, but that was cheating. That was a perfect circle. Now I'm just getting trolled. All right. So again, here's Mark Arthur. So JP, we've seen him have two different moods here. We've seen him have the I don't want to touch you and the hey, I'm okay putting the car in there. Do you think that's the new norm for Mark Arthur?
Well, I think the norm for Arthur is he can contend for the race win if they get equalized on tires right now in track position. The problem is right now he can't move forward with the way things are looking.
That's very true. I agree with that. Now, let's come back and talk about in a serious level that temperature for a second. And you sort of hit on it, and I want to expand on it. That temp being back down to 101, now down to 100, in fact, that's going to have a positive impact for these drivers, JP. It's going to make the track have a little bit more grip. It's going to make the track a little bit faster. In fact, I would not be surprised, by the way, as Van Vliet's down pit road, if our fastest lap of the race, currently held by Mark Arthur, by the way, at 22:106, if this track continues to fall in the next 39 laps, I would not be surprised if our fastest lap comes at the end of this race. This track will get more grippy and faster if those temps keep falling.
Yeah, now we're getting really tight on when some of these drivers may need to come down. How late do you leave it? I know you like to wait as long as possible, but you can only go so far. Cody Gibson is in.
Well, there's a few sides to that answer, right? The first side, you're right, is that there is going to be a math difference between drivers on new tires and drivers who don't take tires. That's going to happen. You see Cody Gibson's time there, still waiting to get to his pit stall. That red number will start right there when he hits pit stall. Dalton Kilroe's down, TBB is down, so this appears to be the common answer. The second thing I think, though, if I'm Chris Carroll, is you're right. I do have that concern about losing time on new tires. But every time someone comes down on pit road, it's now our leader's going to come down. Every time someone comes down, it increases the risk or the opportunity for a caution to fly with someone on new slick tires here at this track. But now here's our leader. That'll put the lead back to Mark Arthur, by the way. The first time I think that's happened maybe since the start of this race, JP.
Yes, indeed. So now it gets really intriguing. Mark Arthur is coming in this time by the air end of pit road, and he hits the wall. Arthur slams the wall with the right side tires, and Arthur avoids damage, but my goodness, that is going to cost him time.
Yeah, that's going to be unfortunate. That's going to cost him time. That's going to throw away the race win. A lot more negative. Here, what I'm surprised, by the way, JP, that was a 14-4 stop. That tells me that these guys are putting tires on at the end of this run. I thought if you pitted right now with 34 to go, as you see that replay again of Mark Arthur, luckily no one behind him, luckily no one he held up or no one to hit him. But I thought if you would have pitted this late in the race, JP, you'd be taking just enough gas to get to the end, maybe two tires. I'm surprised. I thought the advantage to pitting this late was you could put in less gas and maybe two tires and play the time difference game. I'm stunned that Chris Carroll put four tires on.
This is side-by-side, net race lead right here. Kilroe on the outside. Chris Carroll, newer tires inside, trying to push him up the racetrack. They still have a couple drivers yet to pit in front. A squeeze up by the 897. Kilroe now sees Carroll nearly get into the fender. Nearly pushed up and nearly hit the left side fender.
On the bottom of your screen, you saw John Perkins pit. That was your race leader. He's now given the lead to Brian Zimmerman. So that is just a progression of that pit cycle happening. And I think we're hearing it now, a black flag possibly for James Efaw. So unfortunately, you'll see that indicator come up on the screen at the bottom there on your left ticker. That's what that black square means. But this battle is heating up right here. Carroll's not gotten around Kilroe. Remember, both these drivers used the bumper earlier, JP, so we know they're both not scared to do it. And I think if you're Kilroe, you're going to have to do it if you get back to him.
Might be the one thing that might keep him there, but the tough thing's going to be, can he keep up on short run? Carroll's been outright dominant on short run pace and mid run pace all night long in his Chevy SS. New fastest lap, Chris Carroll.
I told you, I thought with the temps dropping and new tires, that would happen. We saw Philip Van Vliet set the time a few laps ago. Now 22.005 for Chris Carroll here with about 29 laps to go. He has set the fastest lap here.
Blistering times right now as we have in our black flag. It's Justin Levine. EFA has picked up a meatball flag, interesting enough as well. So something happened to the 88 after they entered pit road. Believe they clipped the pit wall. So EFA has not had this one end their way.
You know, and luckily something that we've not really come across all night here is this is not the easiest of pit road entries, by the way. So I'm not surprised to hear someone clip the wall there. Not to say that disrespectfully, but to saying this is not the easiest of entries. Watch this bottom of your screen here. This is going to be the both live. That's Brian Zimmerman. That's your leader on the bottom. And then there is your net race lead. Technically still, what, 4th and 5th waiting for people to pit. But this pit road is not entry, JP. I'm surprised we've not had a couple more issues than right now.
Zimmerman's trying to save the fuel. He sounds like he might be clutch and coasting it here. Zimmerman is backing down the pace, trying to make this work. This is really risky from the leader.
Yeah, it's 14 seconds to the good currently on who we think is the net lead. There's no way he saves enough fuel to go 25 laps. I don't think. He last pitted lap 149, so 70 would be 219. Yeah, that's not going to happen. He's got to pit probably the next 10 laps or so. But what he's trying to do, I think, is limit how much fuel he needs on that pit stop, right? And he's going to try to play that game, I think, maybe a fuel only, and see what he can get out of this.
Obviously trying to play for a caution flag.
That could be too. Yep, that very well could be. Although I don't know if that benefits him at this point, because I think most drivers are out of tires. Well, maybe that does benefit him. You have that live thought, sorry. He can have fresh tires and kind of blow around the field. So, sorry, live thoughts here happening in my head, but maybe it does benefit him more than I think.
That's the tough thing about how strict the tire limits are. You have to really be thinking, and it becomes almost a tire lottery at this point if someone does make a major mistake. The thing is, this race has trended green much of the night with long run after long run. That's easier said than done. The leaders, by the way, or rather the net leader is the better way to phrase it, is gaining a second a lap on your screen in the big window.
Yeah, they are. They're coming quickly. You see it here on the timing ticker on the left side. See Chris Carroll now and Dalton Kilrow only about 11 and a half seconds back. At one point it was 14 not too long ago. Well, JP, this race is kicking off a triple header of racing action here today on Green Flag TV. As you see an amazing race happening. We had the Classic IndyCar Series. The ASRL Cup Series right now is over at the Motegi Oval. Tomorrow's High Tide Racing League. This is a busy week on Green Flag TV. So this is a great race to kick off a triple header, or excuse me, to end a triple header of racing here today.
Yeah, going to be a busy day overall when it comes to the platform. When it comes to here on the network. Hopefully things are going well in Motegi. Hearing that Powell pitting. He is coming on in, so one more driver bites the dust.
Yeah, one more driver down. So we don't think anyone can make it on fuel, so they're just trying to see how long they can stretch it. Let's watch Powell's pit stop time on the right side of your screen here. I'm going to see if he just kind of splashes and goes. That number right there should only be a few seconds if that's the case. There's two tires. I see the car lifting up here. Yep, the right sides went up and he's gone. So 9.3. So only two tires for Jason Powell.
Saves him some time, but it's going to be a nightmare to drive, in theory, for a while. Now the gap's under 10 seconds between those in the big box and those in the little box. Trevor Harmon also just ducked in for pit service. Even running about 14th position. At the top of the peel down. Zimmerman having a hard time even holding a line right now. He is bouncing off the walls. Those tires are definitely dying.
Yeah, he's having a hard time. He's now 70 plus laps in, so having a hard time. There's Trevor Harmon's pit stop time on the right side of your screen. And now you're right. Now Zimmerman's at a detriment. Now he's getting passed by cars. I think it's time to come in. It's time to call it a day on this run at least. And, do whatever you need to do here. Because, the leaders are catching you. But I get to this point, I guess you run it out. But he can't be that much further down on gas, or have that much gas left, pardon me. He's got to be just about out of fuel here.
Taking a listen on board. Throwing the Hail Mary on the strategy. Now he's not even trying to clutch and coast right now.
Listen how long he's out of the throttle for. That's a whole corner. He's just letting the car sort of roll around. There's Trevor Harmon down again. He must have had to come back down pit road. That's a second time for him.
Trevor Harmon picked a black flag first time here at Captain Colburn. Having to come on in. He's 9 laps down, however. Disastrous day for some of the Team 5 entries. Where that average is going to be, it's going to be pretty low. Brad Lawson is their hope at the moment as things go around to see if they keep things going. And never mind, that's for second. Chris Carroll just took second on track as Lawson started stuttering down the backstretch. He is out of fuel, it looks like. He's coming in. Zimmerman in as well.
Yep, there's Zimmerman as well. So that's the net race lead. Let's see what they both do out of curiosity for the strategy. See, Kevin Coburn had a small stop at 9.1. Let's watch Lawson and Zimmerman here. See how long their stops are. They're going to give away the lead. I'm just curious to see what they follow through in strategy here. Now Carroll passing cars on track. And watch those red numbers count up here. Should not be very long. Gas only, I would think, for both cars. Yep, 5.6 for Zimmerman. Lawson, 2 tires, 9.7.
Still running low on time here. Coming around to 10 laps to go. Chris Carroll currently controls things up front. Half a second the gap, and it did not work out at all for Zimmerman. He's, in fact, not even going to keep the lead lap. Zimmerman has to let Carroll on by right after the pit sequence. A disastrous end for the 28.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He tried. And listen, sometimes the key to being successful in business is to be better than, less than, or different than your opponent. He tried the different than. It didn't work out this time. But, sometimes it does work out. That's why we run the races. You never know when things will happen and when the yellows will fall and what will happen from there. That track temp still down 98 degrees Fahrenheit. The track is getting faster and faster as this race goes on. But what I'm wondering about now is, do you think Dalton Kilroy has a shot with 8 to go? Or is the gap just too big? Unfortunately, I think the gap's too big, short of a yellow flag coming out.
Yeah, he'd need to restart at this point. How things are looking on the track, he need to restart to have any sort of shot right now. Zimmerman also is continuing his digression down the field. Colburn came out of the pit road and then immediately towed. Lucky this was the caution.
Yeah, luckily for him, kind of off the track and out of the way of traffic, so was not the caution. But you're right, he, I don't know what happened there. But maybe decided he was done, decided he wasn't having a good race. I don't know. A little odd to do that with 7 to go. I'm suspecting something happened either technology-wise or maybe the car didn't get full with gas, or I don't know. See if we can get a word on that later. Here's Cody Gibson, by the way, trying to run down TBB. These guys, lap times almost identical. About 100th of a second difference lap by lap between these two.
Yeah, right now Gibson trying to find a way on the podium to be able to get that in his cap here at Richmond. Still 5 laps to do something, though, in the battle of the Chevys. Just 5 more times around as TBB gets loose while Gibson gets tight. The race lead is now up to 8/10. Chris Carroll from the start, Derrick, outright dominant pace right from the green flag. He has been near untouchable.
Yeah, the head of the class, the star of the field, the cream of the crop, whatever analogy you want to use. That's what Chris Carroll has been. Only really given up the lead a couple times in pit stop cycles. Other than that, numerous laps led with 4 to go. Most likely to let all of them. But let's not stop and not give praise to Dalton Kilroy, however. Dalton Kilroy is currently up 13 spots at that graphic set. Had an incredible run today. Recovered from a mid-pack qualifying. Did a great job. So did Butcher Benjamin, by the way, up 6 on the day. So while Carroll may be walking away and sort of walking the field here a little bit, those drivers behind him had an incredible run to be proud of.
Incredible drive here tonight, but just a lap and a half to go. Coming to the white flag this time by for Chris Carroll. The 97, known for running well on short tracks in multiple different series, runs well here in this one. Final time around here from Richmond. Chris Carroll just needs to make it through a couple more corners and he can celebrate the win. One more set of turns for the 97. Chris Carroll puts up the most laps led, puts up a dominating performance, puts up a win. Chris Carroll takes the win.
What a great job of the whole field today. Very clean race for a big field at Richmond. Lots of great driving, lots of battles, and a good finish.
Gilroy second, Butcher Benjamin the top 3 here today as the 97 of Carroll gets to celebrate a race win today.
Well,
I don't know if he's doing
a burnout. I don't know.
Is he gonna do it?
Oh, maybe he's waiting for that car to go by. Oh, maybe I see he's getting good photos here. What are we doing? I don't know.
I mean, podium photo. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Photo.
There's the podium photo. You're right. That's a good call. By the way, is this one of the tracks with the new graphical refresh? Is pit lane is victory lane accessible now?
It is not. I don't think this is one of those because we still have back straightaway grandstands.
Fair enough.
All right. Let's take a look at the race results here as no celebration for the burnout. Chris Carroll over Dalton Kilroy and Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Cody Gibson and Mark Arthur, your top 5. Paulson and Perkins in the top 7. Kleinsman, Van Fleet, and Powell, your top 10, Derrick.
Moving back into 11th, Tanner Marr for lap down with Brian Zimmerman. And then Brad Lawson of the 3 cars last hero a lap down. Then more than that, Daniel Rupek, Joey Neese, Larry Bell, Nicholas Moody, Trevor Harmon, Kevin Coburn, and James Efaw back in 20th, 58 laps down.
21st going to Justin Levine, making up some spots at least. Austin Darbyshire, 22nd. Timothy Babcock in 23rd with Massengill, 24th spot. Ty Barasco had a power outage in 25th, and the 888 was race control. So look top to bottom at your running order here tonight here on Green Flag TV. 240 laps, and you won't believe it, the 97 now is doing burnouts.
Well, better late than never, I suppose, right? We're still here live and watching that camera still of the grid photo. Podium photo, that's the words I want here.
Yeah, so why don't we take the opportunity to get these drivers all lined up here. Chris Carroll coming away with the race win tonight. Let's take the opportunity to speak with him. Chris, you put up the victory here tonight. How does it feel to win here at Richmond?
Well, Richmond's a good track for me. I like this place. I don't like the car. I haven't driven it much, but kind of figuring out the long run. I didn't have it figured out very well, but we got her done here. Justin did the best we could there.
Let me ask you this then. You joined a series with the car that you said you don't like that much. Why?
We don't want to get into that with the league. I'm not going to disrespect anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I'll take the high road on Wilson.
Okay, I will ask you this in terms of the positiveness when it comes to this season. What's now going to be the approach now that you got to win in this car?
Well, I missed a few races there, and I got a whole lot of points to make up, so just do what I do, race smart, put myself in position to win at the end, and if you do that a lot, you come out with some wins and you come out with some good finishes. So That's how I race. That's how I'll always race, and I don't think I'll change that until I have to.
Congratulations on the win. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to dedicate this race to Lori Lyle in the chat there. She's always rooting for me, and I got to thank Tanner Marr. Say happy birthday to Tanner Marr, USAFirearms.com, and Brian Zimmerman and all my teammates that make this thing run, and everybody that works hard to put this league on. And of course, you in the broadcast. Sorry, Justin. Sorry to cut you off there. You guys in the broadcast booth here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris Carroll coming away with a win tonight. Dawson Kilroe comes away in second. He is with Derrick.
Well, Dalton, second night in a row, it kind of feels like always the bridesmaid, never the bride, so to speak. Last night, last lap, you got moved out of the way. Tonight, just that close to catching Chris at some points. Was there anything you could have done different in retrospect?
Maybe not ran up the track like I wasn't even there coming out of the pit stops. I mean, I understand we're racing for the win, but I've never made contact with anybody to move them. And just second, it looks like he's about to get beat straight up. He just acts like I'm not on the track. So I'm a little frustrated because, I mean, after his little outburst a couple weeks ago, I don't think he should have even been in here. But that's out of my hands, and he's here now, so we just kind of got to deal with it. But glad I was able to get to second after messing up qualifying. I knew I had good long run speed all night and just needed him not to be here.
So a comparison we made at the start of the show in pre-race was that next week we go to Iowa, which a lot of people compare, Iowa and Richmond as sort of being like a brother tracks, or, just almost identical. It's not completely, but of that same ilk. Do you think your success here at Richmond is sort of a template and a confidence builder for Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, I normally run good at Iowa, so I run good there and here, so I should have, as long as I don't get wrecked, I should have a good race next week. Just gonna try and keep doing my thing and just keep chugging along.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night for High Tide Racing League live here on Green Flag TV. Anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, I got to thank the rest of MFRD. I did actually hop in there tonight. I wasn't planning on it, but I did. And hopefully I didn't annoy them too much. But I got to thank, obviously, you guys for doing the broadcast for us. Ohio and Indiana Roofing. Got to thank Hilton Craftsman Designs. Both Blackhawk Motorsports and Five Kings Motorsports. And everybody else at Blazing Pedals for making the league what it is.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dalton, for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, that is Dalton Kilroe finishing P2. A little bummed out, understandably. But let's go ahead and catch up now with Taylor Butcher Benjamin, TBB for short. Taylor, a P3 run tonight. That feels like probably good success after you qualified back in ninth.
Yeah, it was. Definitely could have maybe finished a little higher up if I qualified a little better and nailed that last restart. Was kind of sleeping there, but overall a good night. I mean, had some pretty decent short run speed, but I didn't have quite the long run speed that Dalton and Chris had, but still a pretty satisfying evening, I'd say.
So, looking back, anything you think you could have done different to win this race?
I mean, well, for one, they didn't get a better restart at the end of the beginning of that, whenever it was. The last one where Dalton was leading and I was second. So that could have been better, but I mean, Chris, he's always super fast, and I could have. Okay, one thing I could have done better. I just thought about it. The last green flag stop, because I kind of came in right on Dalton, but he got a better exit, and he kind of got me from there. So as far as just my overall night, it was fun racing with Cody Gibson, and him and I couldn't really get away from each other all night. So it was pretty neat battling to the end, and good to get a first podium of the year and back-to-back top fives and getting some momentum going into Iowa next week.
All right. Well, listen, great job tonight here at Richmond. We'll see you next week at Iowa. And thanks for your time.
Awesome. See you guys then.
All right. That is TBB finishing P3, Justin, here at Richmond.
Once again, the tops, we'd like to thank you for taking time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Green Flag TV. Our next race is at Iowa, Derrick. Your final thoughts on this one?
This was a great race. Lots of good, clean racing, a little bit of bumping, little bit of tight racing, and probably more of the same next week at Iowa.
With that being said, it's time to say goodbye. For producer Dustin Ollis, for Derrick Watson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long to the rest of your evening. Stick around because ASRL Xfinity Series action is still going on at Mobility Resort Motegi. Let's join them in progress now.